You finish your meal at a restaurant, the bill comes, you calculate 10%, 15%, or maybe 20% and leave the tip. But have you ever stopped and asked yourself, why do we do this? Why do we voluntarily give extra money to the waiter when we've already paid for the food? Why is tipping expected in some countries but considered strange in others? And how did this whole system even start? If you've ever felt confused about tipping, you're not alone. Today we're going to uncover the surprising, slightly weird, and very human story behind why we leave tips. This is the curious history and psychology of tipping on story behind the things. Let's find out. First big question, where did tipping actually begin? You might think it's a modern American thing, but it actually started in Europe hundreds of years ago. In the 16th and 17th centuries in England, guests would leave small amounts of money for servants to ensure prompt service. That's literally where the word tip comes from, to ensure promptness. Interesting, right? Now you must be thinking, if it started as a way to get faster service, then why do we still do it even after the service is over? Here where it gets fascinating. Over time, tipping became a social norm, especially in America. After the Civil War, restaurants started using freed slaves and immigrants as waitstaff and paid them very low wages, expecting customers to make up the difference through tips. This system became so deeply rooted that today in many countries, waiters depend heavily on tips to survive. But here's something that might blow your mind. Studies show that people don't actually tip based on how good the service was. We tip because of social pressure, guilt, habit, and cultural expectations. In fact, research has found that the size of the tip is more influenced by the waiter's friendliness, smiling, and even touching the customer lightly on the shoulder than by the actual quality of service. Now here's a question for you. Have you ever left a bigger tip just because the waiter was nice, even if the food was average? That's the psychology at work. Different countries have completely different tipping cultures. In Japan, tipping can actually be seen as rude because it suggests the worker isn't being paid fairly by their employer. In Europe, tipping is usually smaller, but in America, it's almost mandatory. So why do we still continue this tradition? Because tipping creates a direct connection between the customer and the worker. It makes us feel generous, it gives us a small sense of control over the service we receive. And let's be honest, sometimes we tip because we don't want to look cheap. But the system is not perfect. Many people argue that tipping culture allows restaurants to pay below minimum wage, which isn't fair to workers. Some restaurants are now moving to no tipping models with higher menu prices and better base salaries. So next time you leave a tip, remember you're participating in a tradition that's hundreds of years old, driven by psychology, culture, history, and human emotions all mixed together. Now tell me honestly in the comments, do you enjoy tipping or do you find it stressful? And which country's tipping culture do you think makes the most sense? If this video made you think differently about something you do almost every week, hit that like button. Share it with your friends who always debate how much to tip. Subscribe to Story Behind the Things and turn on notifications so you never miss the hidden reasons behind everyday habits. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.